Welcome everyone. Welcome to the iText PDFOCR webinar, the second session of today. We already ran one earlier today for mostly EMEA and APAC audience. So welcome to the numerous people joining us now from Europe and the US, I notice. I'm Karin Piepen. I work for the marketing team here at iText. I'm happy to be the host today together with Andre, who is our global lead for products and services. And he's going to explain the new product called iText PDFOCR and give a demo. Before I hand the floor, perhaps a few practical items. So we're recording this webinar. Everyone will receive the recording to the webinar as well as the slides afterwards. We will have a Q&A at the end of the webinar. Depending on the time, we will be able to answer all your questions. If not, we will answer them in the next few days. You can already submit your questions throughout the session. You can contact us via the questions tab or via the chat tab, and we will pick them up from there. You can also share on social, obviously. You can tag iText if you want. That's it for practical from my end. Andre, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you, Karin, and welcome everyone. So very briefly, what we'll discuss. So just a quick intro about myself, then who we are, iText, as a project, as a company. Then a quick overview about this new product, PDFOCR. What's the added value that iText added on top of the OCR technology that we have adopted? And then just one slide with an overview of the iText full ecosystem. And then a demo, and as Karin just mentioned, a Q&A session. So who am I? So as Karin mentioned, my name is Andre. I've been with iText for roughly a year and a half, and indeed I'm the global lead of product and sales. Product and services. Thank you, Karin. I don't think I'm ready for sales. So in here on this photo, you can see me here doing my favorite thing, which is not running. It is not holding hands. It is being a parent. I'm from Portugal, so that's a photo taken in Lisbon. So who we are as a company. So iText is a fast-growing technology company. We are very active in the digital document space, and we are also perceived as a leader when it comes to PDF technology. Our flagship product is iText 7, a completely open source SDK to create and manipulate PDF documents, which is available under a dual licensing scheme. So both AGPL and commercial license. Even though iText started off as a Java project, we have long supported .NET as well, in the form of CSharp. And as you are going to see in the next slide, we've been very busy over the last 20 years. So you can see here a quick overview of what we've been doing. As I mentioned before, we have iText 7 core, but there's a whole suite. I'm just going to highlight a couple of those. So we have PDF Calligraph, which we will discuss later on. But basically, it allows you to unlock advanced typography features in PDF. We have PDF Sweep, which we will actually use in our demo together with PDFOCR. And what it does is it removes, or rather reducts information from a PDF document in a reliable and secure way. Then we have PDF HTML, our most popular open source add-on that allows you to easily convert HTML and CSS into standards compliant PDFs that are accessible, searchable, and usable for indexing. Then we have PDF2Data, so another add-on that you can actually use together with PDFOCR. In a nutshell, it allows you to easily extract data from PDF documents by visually defining an extraction template. And then it will output an XML file with the information that it has extracted. And finally, we have iText. So iText is separate from our iText 7 suite, but it is our more serious foray into more business-like applications, where we enable actors other than developers to be involved in the process. It is a document generator that simplifies the process of creating and maintaining data-driven forms and templates with a visual template designer and a powerful backend for processing. So iText, in terms of its connection to PDF, so we are a board member of the PDF Association, and we are part of the ISO committee that rules the PDF specification. We are in particular representing Belgium in this ISO committee, which is where Karin and I are doing this webinar from. So you can also see a lot of our customers. We're very proud of this list, very interesting customers. But most importantly, I have to say that there's a huge developer community that we try to foster as much as possible. So for instance, for our next core suite release, we have multiple pull requests that were submitted to us and naturally accepted and merged into our code base. But we also have pull requests that we have submitted to other open source projects because they've helped us so much that, of course, we had to share the work that we've produced. So, of course, it's a win-win, and we're very proud of this. So going to PDFOCR, finally, I know. So this is a quick overview of some scenarios that you can use PDFOCR in. We will particularly dive into how you can basically redact a JPEG that we will OCR. But there is plenty more you can do with our suite. You have redaction, extraction, archival, signing, but so much more. And on the iText overview of all of our products, you'll get kind of a sense of how everything can be tied together. So if we start to detail this very quick diagram, so inputs, just your run-of-the-mill file formats that we support. But also, it was a question on the morning for us webinar. Also, if the image is inside a PDF file, don't worry about it because our core library can easily extract it for you, and then you can just run it through PDFOCR. Speaking of PDFOCR, so pretty sure we have a lot of developers in our audience. Hopefully, most of you are developers. So the way we've implemented is that we split the implementation into an interface and an implementation. The reasoning behind this is that if you as a developer would like to use a different OCR engine, it can be Tesseract 3 or 5 or some other engine. Doesn't have to be Tesseract. You can still use iText to generate iText quality PDF documents, or PDF-A, which is something that we'll discuss further down. It also means that we don't want to close the door and just adopt Tesseract 4 and be done with it in terms of PDFOCR, or rather in terms of OCR strategies. We want to leave the door open because we see that there's a lot of movement in this area. So why Tesseract? Well, Tesseract is a popular and widely used OCR engine, which was originally developed by HP in 1985. So 1985, let that sink in for a while. So I was 2 years old in 1985, so that's how old I am and Tesseract is, which is pretty amazing. And then it was open source in 2005. After 1 year, so 2006, its development has been sponsored by Google, and it has undergone significant developments with support for text recognition in over 100 languages, custom dictionary support, training models for non-standard languages, character sets and glyphs, etc. And the reason why we've adopted 4 is because, you know, there was an important addition, which is the usage of neural networks, which have improved its speed and accuracy, naturally in terms of text recognition. So what about output? Well, I'm not going to waste a lot of time in terms of plain text. So plain text, it is what it is. So you OCR, text comes out, easy peasy. But in terms of PDFs, so that's our bread and butter for iText. We're about PDFs. So PDF, why do we like it? Well, PDF is a universal format. It's secure. It's simple to create. Well, very simple to create, especially if you use Core or PDF HTML or Ditto. It's also free to read, and it allows you to create interactive and searchable documents. So, you know, PDF, easy, obvious one. So what about PDFA? Well, the primary purpose for PDFA is to represent electronic documents in a manner that preserves their static visual appearance over time. So independent of the tools and systems used for creating, or even, you know, the time that has passed, let's say 30 or 50 years, you'll always be able to open a PDFA document and see it, you know, the exact same way as it was meant to be seen when it was created. But don't take my word for it. So one of the bullets on this slide, you can see the North American Library of Congress as an example. So they specify that for a storage, digital storage of a page layout format, you should use number 1, PDF UA documents, number 2, PDFA. And we'll talk a bit more about this. And finally, actions. So we've already touched point on this. Sorry. So you can redact, which you'll be seeing during this presentation. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat these actions because they were just mentioned before. Okay. So what's the added value, you might think? So iText, you're already using Tesseract. Tesseract does the OCR. What do you add on top of it? Well, other than the generation of PDF documents with, you know, the quality that iText is very well known for, we've also added on top of it a support for PDF calligraph. So basically, with calligraph, we are able to render advanced scripts, but we have a slide about it. We'll talk about it. PDF A3U, and then of course the whole iText ecosystem around it. So let's dive into this. So PDF calligraph. So the advantage here is that you'll be able to render the recognized text on top of your PDF documents correctly. So PDF calligraph correctly renders ligatures information that are present on the font file. In a nutshell, ligatures happens when multiple letter shapes gets merged into a single letter. A single glyph, actually, is the right term. I mean, you may not be an Arabic speaker or Devanagari, but you can clearly see the differences between those two columns. I mean, if in Latin example, it looks merely like a visual artifact, like a way to make it, I mean, dare I say, more elegant, with the other scripts, it may make the text impossible to understand. So we make sure that the data coming out of Tesseract was consumable by PDF calligraph so that we can render this correctly. So in here, you just have a quick list of the supported scripts, but they are up on our website. So let's not go over them. So why PDF A3U? Let's break it down. So why the U? Well, U stands for Unicode. Unicode is basically a special codification which allows computers to represent and manipulate text from any existing writing system. So remember PDF calligraph? So if you want to store a OCR'd document, Unicode has to be there, and PDF A3U mandates that Unicode indeed needs to be used. Why 3? Well, 3 is the latest iteration of the PDFA standard. The version 4 should be coming up during this year, maybe early next year. It's still not clear when it will be out. But to be honest, PDFA2 was actually already pretty cool because it added provisions for digital signatures. And speaking of digital signatures, we did a webinar not too long ago that we have available on our website, a recording that you should check. So we have digital signatures, but also around PDF security. So you can imagine how interesting it could be that as you are archiving a document, that you digitally sign it as well. Okay, so be sure to check out our past webinars. And finally, just a recap on why PDFA is relevant for archival. If there's something that I would like you to take away from what PDFA is that you want to be able to open a document 50 years from now and not have the program tell you, look, this font is no longer available. Would you like to download an alternative or use something else? And then have the document just render completely differently or with some lost information. So that's a big no-no. You might as well not have that sort of strategy for archival. So remember that we touched upon PDF UA. So PDF UA actually is a PDFA document as well. So why not PDF UA? Well, simply because the automatic creation of PDF UA documents isn't there yet. It's something that the industry is working on, and particularly iText. Our research team is actively working on this topic. Trust me on this. We had a meeting today on this. So for sure, it's a big topic. But having said that, all of our PDF creation tools have mechanisms for the creation of PDF UA documents with different levels of user guidance and customization. So for instance, on the screenshot, for instance, you can see how Ditto is guiding the user to enter required information so that you can create PDF UA compliant PDFs. So indeed, it's a guided experience and should make things much more easier for you. And finally, the ecosystem that iText has as a whole. So if you are getting PDFOCR, don't forget that there's a lot of other projects that you can use together with them. But right now for the demo, we will be focusing on PDFOCR naturally and PDF sweep. So, demo. Just one quick note before we jump to the code. Although the demo will be done with CSharp, simply because most of the registrations for the webinar were for this language. You might remember that it was one of the questions on the webinar registration. What was your language of choice? All of the iText 7 Suite products are actually available for both Java and C#. So if you are a Java developer, you are going to see some C# now, but don't worry about it because the API is very identical. And all the examples that we have on our knowledge base are available for both Java and C#. All of them, okay? And if you are interested in the example that we are using for the demo, please reach out because we can have the example available on our repository for both Java and C#. So without further ado, let's jump into our IDE. So for the sake of, well, briefness, I already have the project ready. So I'll just show a couple of lines that I think are, more relevant here as we go. So we will be generating a PDF file, and we will be generating a PDF file that is a result of a redaction. And the input will be 2 JPEGs. Okay, so let me show them real quick. So it's basically an invoice. So this is the front, well, the first page of the invoice. And let's see if I can, oh, and this is the back. Okay, so, just a table with some items. Let's zoom. Oof. So what I did, I produced this invoice and then I scanned with our Office scanner, and then I tried to make it as bad as possible in terms of contrast. I reckon we could make it even worse, but there you go. Yeah, so this is basically an invoice. Of course, it's an image, it's a JPEG, so I cannot right now extract any information out of it. You'll see, there are some quantities, description, some pricing information, and yeah, that's it. Pretty easy. So going back to our code. So again, 2 things that we'll be doing: OCRing and sweeping it, and we will be sweeping it real good, just the way I like it. In terms of relevant lines of code, so we have here, we're specifying the language that we want to use. So in this case, we will be using English. So you can specify other languages, of course. You just need to specify here, let's say, if we wanted, if it was a Thai document, just type Thai, and you can have multiple languages as well. But for our example, we're going to with English. Another important requirement, so it's the only thing that you need to take care in your installation, it's the test data directory. So basically, Tesseract, oh, sorry about the page now. So Tesseract, they provide with the training models that were done with the several languages. So these are available on GitHub, and we have the links available on our knowledge base to make it easier for you. So you just have to download those files. You don't need to download all of them, just the languages that you are interested in, and then just refer to where they are from your code. And then finally, let's say in terms of configuration, I want to bring the attention for this text positioning parameter. And I already have here our knowledge base open with some informations about what these parameters do. Okay, so I'll just show you an example with pictures. So these pictures are actually from the images that we are using in the demo. Okay, so if you use the by words, what it does is that the bounding boxes, so this blue box, it will constrain itself to words. Where if you are using by lines, it will try to combine several words into one line. So if we are talking about an invoice, if we're talking about the table, naturally using something like by words makes sense. But let's say you wanted to OCR a book, a paragraph, then something like by lines would make more sense. So in our case, we will be using by words, because it's an invoice. So then we have defined the language of the PDF file simply because it is a PDF-A requirement. If we were to generate a regular PDF document, we wouldn't need to use this property. And then, well, if we have time during the demo, I'll also show this, but basically, by default, we kind of merge what was OCR'd with the image. But if you want to, you can have a separate layer created, one for the image that was OCR'd and one for the actual text. And then you just need to call create PDF-A. It's as easy as that, okay? There are some auxiliary functions here that, well, we can share with you. But basically, these are requirements for PDFA. For instance, here we need to specify the color profile for it. Okay, so let's run it. Oh, we can actually already show the snippet. Okay, so in here we're basically just kind of initializing what we are reading and what we are writing. And then it's as simple as defining a pattern match. So in this particular case, I want to redact everything that starts with a $sign and that it is followed by a number. I don't know if we have, I don't know if we have any, pattern matching gurus out there. It's a whole science, I know, but this one is pretty simple. And then yeah, we're ignoring the case and we are blacking it out. Yeah, and then you just need to run cleanup and it will block out what the pattern match found. If we have time, I'll also show tentative cleanup because I think it's also an interesting concept. So jumping back to the result. So as you can see, we're back to our image, right? But what's the difference now? Well, it is a PDFA compliant document. And also now I can select the text here. I can select everything, okay, as you can see, which is wonderful. It's exactly what we wanted to achieve. So yeah, let's try it out. Yeah, I can select. Mind you that since I've used the option by words, they are split. So it's looking pretty good, I would say. I know I'm biased, so sorry for that, but it is looking pretty good. Oh, you have my email here. Sorry for that, marketing. And I see we also have the redacted file here. So do you remember what we were aiming to redact? So basically anything that starts with a $sign and has a number after it. So that doesn't happen here, nothing here. So let's scroll down and here we are. Okay, so as you can see, we've blocked out the pricing information. So yeah, of course, this is kind of a silly scenario where, someone is buying, sharks with freaking lasers attached to it. I hope we have some Austin Powers fans in the call so that they understand this weird description. But let's say that you wanted to store the invoice, but without the prices that were practiced by back then. So yeah, I mean, looking at the time, I think probably we should jump into the.
I don't know if you still wanted to. Have you finished the demo as you wanted?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So I can share the code, and everyone else they can try out the other possibilities of redaction. So specifically, so just going back, if you want to try the tentative cleanup, I'll just leave this here as a comment. Then you just have to do kind of like this to try it out. Easy. So it's actually pretty cool because then do we have time to show this? Well, okay. So basically, what will happen is we will show on the Adobe will show you boxes like bounding boxes that are, let's call it, due for redaction. Then you can visually accept which items are going to be redacted. So I think that's pretty cool. Okay. And then, yeah, if you want to, you can then also play with the layers option, where in this particular case, it would create a layer just for the recognized text, and the text would be in red, kind of red rum vibe for it. And yeah, that's it. So yeah.
Okay. Again, quite some questions similar to this morning, Andre. So
okay.
Good to know that there is a lot of interest. Perhaps also important to share with everyone that all of the questions of the first session and now of this session we will be uploading to our knowledge base as FAQs. So you can, you'll have more information, even more information than afterwards. So definitely go and visit our knowledge base in a couple of days to check out all of the questions. So we're actually running out of time, but let's take a few moments to address some of the questions. If we haven't been able to get to your question, we will definitely get an answer, give you an answer back in the next couple of days. Perhaps a first question regarding languages was also a topic this morning. What if you have different languages on your document, let's say Swedish and Thai and whatever?
Yeah.
How does it work then?
Yeah, so yeah, I hinted at that as we were discussing here the languages. So it's as easy as specifying multiple languages here. So let's say English and Portuguese, you just define it this way. How do you know the ones that are available? So let me just pull up my test data, directory real quick. So just give me a second here. Okay, here we are. Just put up on the screen. So as you can see here, this is my test data, and you can see all of the languages that I have installed on my computer. So you see.
You're seeing that.
Oh yeah, sorry. I guess I hit pause. So here you can see all the languages. So for instance, Italian, you have ITA. Yeah, you have here all these languages. I think we had Swedish on the morning session, SWE. So let's say we wanted to go with SWE and English. So we would just do, something like this. Or if it was just a Swedish document, just like this. Okay, so it's as easy as that.
Okay, thanks. Another question, PDF2Data. How does it combine with PDFOCR?
Okay, so PDF2Data basically can be used. I'm sorry. So PDFOCR can be used as a pre-processing mechanism. Yeah. So basically, if you may remember this diagram, we have indeed PDFOCR here. And then if we fast forward to PDF2Data, then PDF2Data will be able to extract information that would otherwise be unavailable because it was only on an image. So for sure, PDFOCR and PDF2Data are a match made in heaven.
Okay. Another question here, perhaps. I see you were able to click on the individual words after you ran the scan document. After clicking, were you able to edit the document?
Yes, absolutely. So we can go there real quick. So you can edit the text itself, but don't forget that you have the image behind it. So yeah, I'm not sure of the use case. You can edit it, sure, but then the image will be behind it. I don't know, maybe if you split the text and the image into different layers, you would want to edit the text in there, but yeah, that's up to you. Yeah, so we have a question about redaction. So indeed, if the idea about PDF Sweep, which is our product that does redaction, yeah, then the idea is that that information is no longer available on the PDF document. So you will not be able to search for that information anymore. Well, it's funny. We also have PDF render questions actually. Well, someone is asking if it's the only product that it's only available in Java. So not really. So let me just go back here to the overview real quick. Well, to the ecosystem. So indeed, all of the products that you see here are available in both Java and .NET, except PDF render. Indeed, it's available in Java, but there is also a CLI version for our .NET users and other users. We are actually in the process of creating an entry in our knowledge base to show how you can use it in C#, how you can use PDF render in C#. We already have some of our customers asking for it, and we provided them with a code sample with it. It's just a matter of making it public. We also have Ditto here. So Ditto is available in Java, but it also contains, well, a containerized version, a Docker containerized version. So there is a REST API with it. So the beauty of that is that you are not constrained by any language. So you can use any language you want to with that containerized version of Ditto. Yep.
See, we're running 8 minutes over time. Perhaps still 2 more questions if you have some more time, Andre.
Sure, why not?
There's a question here. Can I pass multi-page PDF to the OCR engine to extract all text?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what you would do in that scenario is that you would use a core. So our core product to extract the images from that PDF and then just send those images through PDFOCR. It's as simple as that. We do have on our knowledge base how you can extract images from PDFs by using our core product.
Okay, thank you. And perhaps one final question regarding the licensing.
Okay, so the licensing is an interesting question. So most of our products are dual licensed. So what it means that they are licensed in both AGPL and the commercial license. So if you want to use PDFOCR on an open source setting with AGPL license, then you have the PDFOCR available as AGPL. If you want to build a commercial closed source product, then you would have to buy a commercial license to be able to use PDFOCR.
With iText. That's also someone is asking just now, with whom do we license then? It's with iText.
With iText, indeed. So it is an iText product, and PDFOCR works on top of our core product. So as you are using PDFOCR, but the same thing can be said, for instance, with PDF HTML or our other add-ons. You also get our core functionality. So you'll be able to merge PDFs, split PDFs, digitally sign PDFs, secure PDFs, all of that good stuff that core has. It comes together with our add-ons. So it doesn't stop with just OCR or with just HTML to PDF conversion. There's all of these cool stuff that you can do.
Okay. Thanks, Andre. I see we're more than 10 minutes over time now. So we'll end this webinar here. Everyone that sent us a question and that didn't get an answer during this Q&A session, we will send you an answer in the next few days. Maybe it's early next week. So please bear with us, but you will definitely get an answer. We will also, Andre is now showing some links where you can find more information about iText PDFOCR or where you can go to download it. We will also make them available in the post-webinar email, which you will also receive in a couple of days. And if any further questions that you may have regarding iText PDFOCR or any of our other products or anything else you'd like to know, simply drop us an email and we'll get in touch with you. Thank you. And we hope to see you again at one of our next webinars.
Thank you, everyone.